It brings back a lot of memories to talk about Hearts with her on a pay phone. They talked about their past and the Jeff Chandler mystery was finally answered. It's not good that Jeff Chandler was born Ira Grassel on December 15, 1918, in Brooklyn, New York, was a very American who is very good-looking and very skilled, a singer and actress whose work left an impact on the middle of the 14th century movie stars with his gray hair coming in early. He was tall and with a rich baritone voice. Chandler became a well-known Maine man in the 1950s, admired both his looks and being there and his quiet focus on, even though his life was sadly cut short is still an important part of the golden age of movies. Growing up in Chandler is a working-class Jewish family. Have loved the arts since they were young age, even though they were facing the problems of the Great. Being depressed after finishing from Erasmus, he went to Hall High School in Brooklyn, going to the Fagan School of Dramatic Art to act art in New York City. Willed, and he worked hard in stock theater and getting better at radio and laying the base for what would become an exciting job. Chandler fought in World War II. The U.S. Army post where he was at the time, the Aleutian Islands. He spent some time when military only made him feel more of focus and dedication, are traits that would later explain how he planned to acting after going back to normal life. He moved on to radio work, getting known for the unique sound of his voice. This strong voice eventually led to starting with small parts, movie jobs, and slowly turning into a big studio producing. Jeff Chandler's big break. His big break came in 1948, when he played a tough thug in the movie Johnny O'Clock, but it was his strong "How Well You Play Cochise" the Apache chief in Broken Arrow in 1950 that pushed him as a leader. He won an Oscar for this part. Choice for Best Supporting Player, an important accomplishment. Taking into account the racial aspects of the time, his honorable and humanistic image of Cochise was a key point in how Native Americans are shown in Hollywood personalities, and Chandler's writing as a performer, wide range and sensitivity based on how well Broken Arrow did. Chandler was chosen to play major roles. Man who has been in a lot of movies, in a lot of different types of movies: Smuggler's Island and other adventure tales, 1951 war epics like Mariel's Marauders, 1958, and westerns like The Jayhawkers, in 1959. He also had a role with major women of the time, like Jane Richard Russell, Rhonda Fleming, and Maureen O'Hara. Chandler was well known for playing people who are strong and men who were vulnerable but tough. He was also emotionally complicated. Besides playing, Jeff Chandler was also a singer. He put out a number of records during in the 1950s, with songs and romantic standards that showed off his smooth baritone voice. He was a musician. His film is more well known, but it still showed his multiple aspects of his artistic personality. Recordings with songs like I Should Take Care and All I Do Is Dream About You have shown a softer side that different from the rough figures. Chandler played a lot of roles on screen, showed interest in making things and telling stories behind the scenes. He had his own production company and looked for more artistic freedom over his projects, a move that showed what he wanted to become more than just stars and be a more active role in making film stories. This spirit of entrepreneurship wasn't common for artists at the time, and more information about Chandler's goals and a forward-thinking attitude. Jeff Chandler. They got married to actress Marjorie Hosel in 1946. In the early stages of his film career, Job Hosel, who had worked in movies and on stage, she had her own a small playing career before stepping out of the spotlight. For now, the couple at first, it looked like a happy and a beautiful Hollywood couple admired for their beautiful looks and public appearances. Their marriage led to two girls, Jamie Tucker, born 1947, and Chandler was born in 1949 to Dana Grakel. Ira Grassel was her real name, which Dana eventually added to her last name. The family got used to living in Los Angeles, and Chandler seemed to for a while balancing the needs of rising fame with being a father, but behind the scenes there were problems in their marriage. They split up in 1951, and even though reunited, the same troubles kept happening. In 1954, they broke up again, and that in the same year, Marjorie asked for a divorce. Pointing to a broken marriage, one specific thing she was upset about was that Chandler was constantly tired, so much that he would fall asleep in public or at social events no matter where they were. she described a man who was so consumed by being tired that his presence was often set apart more by absence even when physically there to meet the needs of his job as an actress requires long, hard hours. On set and at the studio where it is clear that this is bad for his health and having a family life despite their problems this time, Chandler and Hozell made another try to make the marriage better and gotten along in March 1955. During this time, Chandler kept up the steady work and stayed one of Universal's best-paid stars, but the meeting didn't last long. 1957. While they were making the movie Raw Wind in Eden in Italy, Chandler began a well-known romance with actress, and Esther Williams is a famous swimmer and beauty. On her own, their bond quickly got the attention of the media, and it was clear to his wife that the marriage had hit its ends. From that point on, Hozell filed for divorce again at the end of that year, put an end to after more than 10 years of marriage, by many attempts at healing, but was eventually beaten by Chandler's personal choices and work obligations. When they got divorced in 1958, new information about Chandler's money and lifestyle came to light. He claimed that he was making a lot of money as a movie star who has a deal with Universal. They will make 2 movies a year. Was paid $60,000 a movie in 1957, and in 1958, each movie cost $75,000, which was a large amount of money at the time. In total, Chandler claimed that he has $2,500,000. 1957, which also had money from singing shows and maybe even other appearances or support in public, but he also said that his wealth was badly weakened by a number of costs for work. His personal boss of a business and an agent altogether took about 25% of his income, and he had extra costs linked to his family's way of life, responsibilities, and keeping up with your job. Even with these conclusions, the court ordered Chandler to keep making his wife $1,500 per month to help for a while. The last part of the divorce deal in June 1959 brought in a lot of money. Chandler agreed to give me more than $2,166 per month in alimony, on top of that up to $500 a month in child support, making sure that his family has enough money. Daughter and ex-wife. He also made a one-time payment of $100,000 to a number that showed how long both of their getting married and Chandler's continued success. When they thought about the end of their, Hozell said that Chandler was married had become more and more interested in his business, to the point where even his time business used up the difference. He had to spend all the time when not really working on a painting in his, she said, business office, which was a hint that he was physically and mentally sick. Not present for his family. She said the stress of a marriage in trouble led to her getting an ulcer, the physical result of years of having a wife. Put stress on Chandler's love life after the split kept bringing in interesting to the people. He was linked with a lot of women work in the entertainment, stars like actresses and singers. Gloria DeHaven, when they were together, had been done with a level of confidential showed that judgment was broken. Magazine, a well-known newspaper of the time that focused on scandals in Hollywood while Confidential was being tried, according to private detective Fred Otak, that police were following Chandler and DeHaven in order to find proof of the affair, showed how strongly tabloids looked for scandalous stories. Stories that often come at the cost of privacy for celebrities. The most controversial Chandler's personal life went through after many years. In 1999, Esther Williams put out her book. It was called $1 Million Mermaid. And she said that they were no longer together, even though Chandler had admitted to being a transgender person after proposing marriage. The claim was shocking and controversial, sparking new media wanting to know about Chandler's personal life decades after he died. According to the Los Angeles Times, named many of Chandler's fiercely by friends and co-workers turned down Williams' claims. Among her supporters was actress Jane Russell, a close friend of Chandler's, who said, "That sounds like something I've never heard of. The last thing I would do is cross-dress. Jeff was a nice guy. Without a doubt, all man." Others in the entertainment business echoed her doubts and suggested that the claim was either not clear, or Chandler, who was known for his being male and having a deep voice, had always shown a strong traditionally manly character on screen, making this accusation was especially shocking to the public and those who had worked getting close to him. Besides Williams and DeHaven, Chandler was also linked to a relationship, having another with actress and Sheridan, an important and well Known person in Hollywood. The relationship was never formally stated that their membership added to. Chandler is known for being a friendly and wanted as a main man on screen as well as on through all of these personal ups and downs. Jeff Chandler kept a busy acting job that often involves heroic and tough characters in movies, but the trouble in his personal life marked by failed marriages, romantic entanglements, media attention and unconfirmed reports made it seem like a complicated picture. Of the man behind the camera, it looked like he was dedicated to his job. To cost people their own lives, people close to him often find happiness and didn't feel cared for or awed by his a lot of attention paid to job and public image. Jeff Chandler has been a name for decades. Made me think of a silver-haired, deep-voiced star who wowed audiences in the 1950s. Viewers with his powerful screen presence and cool charm, with jobs in old movies like Broken Arrow, The Marauders and The Sign of the Chandler made a space for Pogan. He is one of Hollywood's most well-known stars, but behind the public, under the persona, lay a troubling and strange string of events that made his a sudden death that left friends confused. For a generation, for years, people have talked about talks behind closed doors about proof, and statements have finally solved the long-running mystery. Light, and what has come out is not at all the good person his friends used to look up to. Chandler died quickly in 1961, when he was only 42 years old after what should have having a normal surgery for a slipped disc at the time. The government said that his death was caused by problems from surgery because they had a blood infection. Medicine mistakes concerns about his stay were raised yet more red flags. Even then, friends, co-workers, even his ex-wife started to doubt him. How a man who seemed healthy could get worse so quickly in the care of a respected medical center. Rumors of procedures that went wrong, missed allergies, and stories of staff carelessness started to spread. Almost right away after he died, at Cedars was at the center of the feud of Lebanon Hospital in Los Angeles. Chandler had surgery and never went outside again. The plot deepened, with different reports said Chandler had been wrongly diagnosed, while others said his having an allergic reaction to drugs and antibiotics were handled very badly, in a shocking turn of events that a nurse at the time said to Chandler's friend Sammy Davis Jr. that there was fear in the surgery room after Chandler started being sick and having seizures, signs and symptoms. It is now known that new court papers that were not sealed and hospital records show that Chandler was giving him a medicine he had proven allergies to, a certain drug based on penicillin. This fatal oversight, mixed with not enough post-surgery tracking, led to his quick turn down. Instead of admitting fault, it is said that the hospital worked to cover taking responsibility for their mistakes out of fear of going to court. Bad things that happen and public anger to make even worse. A veil of silence talked about the case in the years that followed, what people in the industry thought was a work together by the studio system to hide information that could hurt people. At the Universal Pictures had a lot of Chandler's image was important to him. One of their cash cow stars and one in the lead roles who could play heroic parts across the board: westerns, war movies, and history epics. Bad news about medical incompetence and failure of institutions would not only hurt Chandler's reputation, it could have big effects, though when it comes to Hollywood's golden age picture, adding another sad level. Chandler had a rough home life. Whispers, filled with stress and rumors about his personal ties being tense, only marriages and rumors of affairs made his public story more complex. His Marjorie Hosel, his ex-wife, publicly suggested that in comments afterward that there was more to Chandler's death than the world had thought possible. Been told that implies that emotional stress and tiredness may have made him physically more vulnerable. Chandler was said to have been working long days making movies and public events, even while having trouble with long-term pain. The stress, along with a failure to receive getting the right medical care, made the perfect storm in the past few years. The of digital records, along with those interested in Chandler's life as a biography, has led experts and filmmakers, history buffs, to put together the pieces of what it seemed investigative reporters who are not related uncovered medical information before I thought was lost, along with letter from Chandler's close friends saying anger and sadness over what they called a tragedy that could have been avoided. News leaks paint a picture not of a sad accident but of systemic neglect and maybe even a quiet cover-up made to keep names safe and lower the responsibility. The last pieces of the puzzle became known thanks to the work of the daughter of Chandler. Jamie Tucker had been quietly asking for years access to her dad's locked medical records. In an honest talk, she talked about the pain of not knowing the full story of how her father died. He was my dad, not just a star, she said. He didn't deserve to die like that, she said. That. Her hard work paid off when the hospital had to follow a court order and release the paperwork that proves that important medical rules were overlooked and Chandler has an allergy. The comments were known before the surgery. Now that the puzzle is solved, the truth puts a dark shadow over the classic Hollywood's glitzy front. The story of how Jeff Chandler died is no longer just a sad story about a well-liked star died too soon. A wake-up call about how even the biggest stars can go out by lack of care, silence, and systematic failure. Many fans watch his movies again and again, with a greater respect for the man leaving behind the parts and with concerns about the number of unknown deaths have been buried in the history books of Hollywood.